A little bit of feedback there. Let's see here. Hold on one sec, folks. And then I'll take entries from the defense. A little bit of feedback there. All right, we'll now take entries from the defense, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Malia Peters. I will be directing, Devin Williams, and I will be crossing Dr. Casey Rogers, and I will be giving the defense closing.
All right.
Good afternoon. My name is Julie Valenzuela, and I will be cross-examining Carson Durst and directing Skylar Weirs.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. I will be directing Blake Doncourt and crossing Skylar Weirs. I'll also be doing the opening statement for defense.
And what was your name, counsel?
Gavin Moody.
All right, that was a little quick. Were the panelists able to catch enough to make that meaningful?
Who was the attorney, I believe, before you, Gavin?
Julie Valenzuela.
Can you say the last name again, Gavin, please?
Valenzuela.
Valenzuela. Thank you so much. Did the panelists need any more clarification? I had a bit of a hard time myself, but I want to make sure you have it.
I'd like to clarify the first attorney's name. Lori, was it?
Malia Peters.
Malia.
And her last name is, I'm sorry, Mr. O'Moody, say again.
Peters.
Pierce?
Peters.
Peters. All right, these are challenges of the new world.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and would your witnesses like to introduce themselves, or do counsel wish to introduce them?
May our witnesses please introduce themselves?
All right, please proceed.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Lily Gregory, and I will be playing Dr. Devin Williams.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Mia Garcia, and today I am Blake Doncourt.
Ay, caramba. Sorry. Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is John Dieter, and I will be portraying Skylar Weirs. Oh, Lord.
All right, and let's just hold on one moment. Did the panelists get that okay? Do you need to repeat?
Could I have that second witness again, please?
Yep, second witness, please. Just slow down a bit.
My name is Mia Garcia, and I am Blake Doncourt.
Mia Garcia is Doncourt.
Thank you.
All right. Any other repetition needed for our panelists?
No, Your Honor.
All right. And that being said, let me ask, is the plaintiff prepared to proceed today? I'm sorry, I need to know for the plaintiff, are you prepared to proceed today?
Yes, Your Honor. Sorry.
All right. And for the defense, are you prepared to proceed today?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I just want you folks to know that although it's very unlikely in light of the circumstances we find ourselves in, that the Bar Association may be taking photographs of this competition and that your participation in the tournaments grants permission for the Bar Association to use those photographs. I don't think I have anybody here in the courtroom who shouldn't be. The live stream is on, and I anticipate that there's nobody on the live stream that shouldn't be there. In other words, if there's anyone there who's connected with teams not competing, they must leave the courtroom that is not observed through the live stream. Folks, remember that there are no recesses that are allowed here, with the exception of something that's granted for a health emergency. And there is absolutely no recess between the end of witness examinations and closing arguments. In other words, we're on a live clock and it'll continue until we're done. We've already spoken about conflicts. I've heard none. So we will proceed with our scoring panelists as they're presently composed. Please keep in mind, folks, that any disputes arising out of the competition must be reported in accordance with competition rules, which the coaches and the attorney advisors have access to. It's on. Yeah. Okay. They just wanted to make sure that I had the live stream on. We do. Please, teams, remember that your compliance with the timing requirements is considered in scoring your performances. I'm sure you've all heard that before this round. And we have our timers present for both teams. Is that correct? Both timers are here.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Outstanding. All right. I'm going to now swear everybody in. I know you folks have been through this being round 4, but we're still going to do it the right way. So if I can have all the team members, please raise your right hands. All right. That means students. All right. Team members, do you promise that the presentation we're about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition? All right, seeing all affirmative, you may put your hands down. Now we'll turn to the witnesses. Witnesses, if you'd raise your right hands. If you did it twice, that's okay. It never hurts to do it twice. Do you promise that the testimony you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to your witness statements, that you will not add material facts or opinions which are not contained in the case problem, and that you will follow the rules and procedures of the mock trial competition? Please answer I do or yes if you do. Seeing all affirmatives, you may lower your hands. I can't see the gallery members who may be present by the live stream, which I'm showing is on. I'll just remind you that you must promise to represent yourselves here, even though virtually, as positive role models and to behave in a manner that exemplifies ethical and professional sportsmanship during and after this mock trial round. Now, if I can please have the scoring panelists raise their right hands. Do you promise to adjudicate the mock trial competition as fairly and objectively as possible in accordance with the facts, procedures, and rules of the mock trial competition?
I do.
All right, you may lower your hands. Hearing all affirmative responses. All right. We're going to see how it goes, folks. I am certain that we're going to get through this together. All right. Having heard that the parties are prepared to proceed, does the plaintiff wish to make an opening statement?
Will there be preliminary matters today, Your Honor?
Thank you for asking. Yes, counsel, for the plaintiff, preliminary matters.
Yes. First, I request that me or my team and opposing team can use any remaining time left from the direct examinations to have a rebuttal.
So from direct examination? Oh, I don't think.
Yes,
Are you talking about your arguments, your closing argument, or are you talking about, explain to me what you're asking for?
Any time left over for the plaintiff to be used for a rebuttal after the defense's closing statement.
Yeah, in your closing, if you have extra time that remains, you may use your remaining time in rebuttal for closing. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and additionally, due to the nature of the way that we are meeting, we've been experiencing a lot of technical difficulties. Could we possibly constructively publish the exhibits rather than screen sharing?
Does the defense object to that?
Can you please say again?
Instead of screen sharing the exhibits when entering them, we rather assume that the court and the jury has a copy and we constructively publish rather than screen sharing.
Only if we can do the same.
Absolutely.
Oh, my bad. If necessary, I can share the exhibits for both the plaintiff and the defense.
All right. Here's what I'll do. I will allow you to constructively publish the exhibits if you wish, both teams, not just one. However, if you wish to avail yourself of the kind offer of Team H, you can ask them to publish specific exhibits as well. I'll let you decide each team how you wish to do that. All right, so that request is granted. Anything else for the plaintiffs preliminarily?
May we also constructively read the stipulated facts?
Yes.
All right. That is everything from the plaintiff, Your Honor.
All right. Are there any preliminary issues from the defense?
Defense requests that stipulated facts be admitted into evidence.
That request will be granted.
We ask that witnesses are considered constructively sequestered.
I don't think I'm permitted to enter a sequestration order, so that request will be denied.
We ask that omitted exhibits are constructively remain on witness stand for ease of reference if they are able to be shown.
If they're admitted, they may.
And then as our team has one computer for the witnesses and the attorneys, we ask for time in between to change our name.
You're going to have to work pretty quickly because I can't disadvantage anybody, but yes, I'll allow you a brief amount of time to make sure the names are clear for our scoring panelists. Yes. Anything further for the defense?
That is all, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Having resolved the preliminary issues, I'll turn again then to the plaintiff. Does the plaintiff wish to make an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. The plaintiff may proceed.
The case that I'm about to describe to you, members of the jury, is one of greed, carelessness, and heartbreak. The plaintiff, Dakota Weirs, lived a promising, prosperous life in which she excelled in school and the performing arts, was a role model for her peers, and showed exemplary character in every aspect of her life. Dakota was ecstatic to go to music school, and it seemed that the sky was the limit for this young teen. However, their life was turned upside down when their health began to rapidly decline. Shortly after, Dakota was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Dakota never got to go to college. She never got to do the things she once enjoyed. In fact, she may never get to do those things again. You see, a few years ago, prior to this turning point in Dakota's life, they began working at Haven Landscaping. She loved being active and in the outdoors. This job was perfect for Dakota. Dakota was expecting to gain work experience and a steady income to prepare herself for their future, but instead, they became a victim to the corporate greed and carelessness of Lush Fertilizer. Lush Fertilizer is a lawn care company who preaches the importance of safety and friendly products. In an effort to overtake their competitors, they developed a supposedly groundbreaking new bonding agent, Drufo. Their desire to be number one caused them to overlook important research that should have been done to make Drufo safer. Carson Durst, a former product development engineer at Lush Fertilizer, will tell you about Lush Fertilizer's attempts to water down the data that showed a correlation between cancer, specifically non-Hodgkin lymphoma, and Drufo. It was recommended that Drufo be baked to eliminate any risk of possible carcinogenic qualities in Drufo, but Blake Doncourt, CEO of Lush Fertilizer, decided not to in an attempt to cut corners and save money. To make matters worse, Dr. Devin Williams, a lead toxicologist at Lush Fertilizer, was consistently pressured by Blake Doncourt to pursue routes that were most cost-effective, not the safest, and admitted that Drufo was banned in France. Furthermore, you will hear from Dr. Casey Rogers, who will tell you that he performed a study that followed 3 control groups of people with varying levels of exposure to Drufo. This study found higher instances of cancer in the groups of people who had been exposed to Drufo. In fact, the people who have had the most exposure to Drufo was 10 times more likely to be diagnosed with cancer. Dakota has endured much pain and trauma from this experience and was abandoned by their twin, Skylar, who you will see testify against Dakota on the stand today in an attempt to protect Lush Fertilizer's image and her writing career. Lush Fertilizer's negligence and greed caused devastating outcomes in a young person's life. Dakota Weirs had to put her old life on hold against her will and succumb to a new life of pain, uncertainty, and could-have-beens. Lush Fertilizer, cut grass, cut corners, cut lifespans. Thank you.
All right. Does the defense wish to make an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed, sir.
May it please the court, Your Honor, members of the jury, and opposing counsel. Show me a hero and I'll write you a tragedy. Good evening. My name is Gavin Almoody, and along with my co-counsel, Julie Valenzuela and Malia Peters, we will represent Lush Fertilizer in today's case. We are here to demonstrate that our client, Lush Fertilizer, was not negligent in the production and distribution of its fertilizer. Today, you will hear about a compound called Lush Fertilizer and the compound it created called Drufo. Drufo is a revolution in the field of agriculture. It is not only cost-effective for the consumer, but beneficial to the environment. Drufo helps control the amount of nitrogen buildup and runoff into rivers and streams. Users only have to apply Drufo once or twice a year, compared to 5 or 6 times for its competitors. And this means less nitrogen buildup to rise in crops. Drufo makes the world a better place. Drufo is the hero. Now, some people disagree. Others want to keep this product off the shelf. The plaintiff today will represent their case and try to convince you that the product is not safe and in fact harmful. Today, you will hear about the efforts of Lush's competitors who spent billions of dollars to destroy the reputation of Drufo. These competitors want to turn Drufo into a tragedy. Now, members of the jury, why are you here today? Standing before you today is the plaintiff, Dakota Weirs. The plaintiff will allege that the use of Lush fertilizer was the cause of their terrible condition and the diagnosis of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. But I want you to pay attention to the details in today's case. You will hear what Dakota Weirs was suffering from, their condition, for over a year. And it wasn't until reading the news one day did they find and start to believe that Lush fertilizer could be the cause. Remember what I mentioned earlier? Lush's competitors spent billions of dollars to destroy the reputation of Drufo. These efforts were being poured into screens across the country. These efforts are the reason why we are here today. Members of the jury, the evidence in today's case will show you that the product is completely safe. It does not cause cancer. It is meant to benefit you, the consumer, and the environment. To help you reach this understanding, the defense will call 3 witnesses. First, defense will call Dr. Devin Williams. Dr. Williams is an expert in the fields of pharmacotoxicology who has both training and experience in the relevant fields to today's case. The witness will help you understand what Drufo is, why Drufo is a revolution in the industry, and how safe Drufo is as a component to Lush's fertilizer. Dr. Williams will help you see that Drufo is a hero in today's industry. Next, the defense will call Skylar Weirs. Mr. Weirs is an investigative journalist specializing in the field of agricultural technology. Mr. Weirs has spent hours researching, questioning, and understanding just how Drufo works and what it can do for the user and the consumer. Mr. Weirs will shed light on the most current research and address Drufo's safety concerns. Mr. Weirs will also help you understand just how the old guard of the agriculture industry are attempting to destroy the reputation of Lush's fertilizer. He will help you see their attempts to turn Drufo into a tragedy. Finally, you'll hear from the CEO of Lush Fertilizer herself, Blake Doncourt. Ms. Doncourt did not have to take the stand today, but she chose to do so because she believes in the company's complete transparency. They will tell you that Lush Fertilizer is a company committed to great environmental and safety practices. Her contributions to the product, the company, and the planet will help you realize that Lush did not contribute to the plaintiff's condition. At the end of the case, we'll ask you to find that the plaintiff has not met his burden of proof that Lush Fertilizer is either dangerous or cause Dakota Weirs cancer. The plaintiff has failed to eliminate the majority of variables that could be responsible for his cancer. As you'll see, Drufo is the hero, and this is the attempt at tragedy. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, counsel. We'll now turn to the plaintiff for their first witness, please.
Your Honor, the plaintiff calls Dakota Weirs to the stand.
All right. Ms. Weirs, you've been previously sworn. Counsel, you may commence your examination.
Good afternoon. Why don't you introduce yourself to the court and spell your last name for the jury?
My name is Dakota Weirs. Last name is spelled W-E-I-R-S.
And were you recently diagnosed with a medical condition?
Yes, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
And what are you wanting to accomplish today in this courtroom?
Well, considering that my future has been taken away from me, I'm hoping to protect the future of others.
let's talk about your life prior to your illness. Are there any activities that you participated in prior to your diagnosis that you are no longer able to participate in today?
Yes.
Tell the jury about the activity that you are most upset about no longer being able to participate in today.
I'm most upset about not being able to play the piano.
When did you start playing the piano?
I started playing the piano at a very young age.
And did you take lessons throughout your life?
Yes.
And how did your playing of the piano develop?
I would take lessons as well as lessons I would participate in competitions.
Did you win some of those competitions?
Yes.
And why did you enjoy playing the piano so much?
I enjoyed playing the piano because it connected me to my grandfather.
And what happened to your grandfather?
I believe he passed away.
After your grandfather passed away, did you continue playing the piano?
Yes, I felt as though it connected me to him.
Now, other than winning some competitions, did you receive other types of recognition for how well you played the piano?
Yes, I got a full ride scholarship to Juilliard in New York City.
Did you engage in activities other than playing the piano prior to your diagnosis?
Yes, I would volunteer anywhere I could, such as homeless shelters, and I believe I started working at Haven Landscaping.
Let's talk about your work as a landscape technician. What type of work did you perform as a landscape technician?
I would work with fertilizers as well as spreading seeds.
Okay. How long did you work in the landscaping industry?
Several years, I believe.
And what types of products did you use as a landscape technician?
Fertilizers, I believe.
When performing your duties, were there precautions you were supposed to take when working with chemicals?
Yes, we were supposed to wear certain clothing.
Okay. And what type of attire did you and your co-workers sometimes wear?
We would wear shorts as well as short sleeves.
And where did you use these products?
Indoors, I believe.
Okay. Did you use them outdoors as well?
I believe so.
Okay. What type of companies did you use with the fertilizer?
What do you mean by that? I'm sorry, can you rephrase it?
Did you use Lush fertilizer in your line of work?
Yes.
Do you know any of the ingredients of a Lush fertilizer used by you during your employment with Haven Landscaping?
I believe Jufo was used.
Okay. Did Lush fertilizer's label provide any warnings about using their products indoors?
I don't recall.
We'll move on. After working in the landscaping industry for several years, what plans did you have for your future?
I was planning on going to Juilliard.
And let's talk about what happened when you were getting ready to head off to Juilliard. Did anything significant happen just before you were supposed to head off to Juilliard?
Yes, I started feeling sick.
Now, do you have any other physical symptoms at the time that you were supposed to be heading off to Juilliard?
Severe weight loss and chest pains, as long as with some other stuff as well.
Okay. At the time, did you know what was going on with your health?
No, and I believe that nobody could figure it out either.
Okay. Did you eventually figure out what was wrong?
Yes, but only after tons and tons of medical bills.
What was wrong?
I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Now, what symptoms are you currently experiencing relating to your non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
I currently have swollen lymph nodes, if that's how you say it, and I can't play the piano as well because it hurts to sit down for long periods of time.
Have you experienced any issues with your mental health resulting from your diagnosis?
Yes,
And what is that?
severe depression.
Okay. How has your non-Hodgkin lymphoma and resulting depression affected your quality of life?
I can no longer sit for the long periods of time as before. I can no longer play the piano, therefore I had to turn down my scholarship.
Thank you, Your Honor. I pass the witness.
All right, cross-examination for the defense.
Good afternoon, Ms. Weers. My name is Gavin Amodi. I'll be cross-examining you this afternoon. Let's start with your work.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Mr. Al-Moody, I am having a hard time too. Are you near a microphone, sir? Perhaps you get a little closer.
Yes, Your Honor. Can you hear me better now, Your Honor?
Not much. Let's see. Your mic's good. Try again, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Weers. My name is Gavin Amodi, and I'll be cross-examining you this afternoon. Let's start with your work at Haven. You're an employee at Haven since you were 14, correct?
Yes,
And you've been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, correct?
yes,
And you believe lush fertilizer is the sole cause.
yes,
You believe lush fertilizer is the sole cause because you saw a news article claiming that lush fertilizer was carcinogenic.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question? I didn't exactly hear you.
You believe that lush fertilizer is the sole cause because you saw a news article claiming that lush fertilizer was carcinogenic.
Yes.
And only after seeing the news article did you feel lush was responsible for the condition.
Yes.
Now, Ms. Weers, Haven Landscaping uses multiple types of fertilizer, correct?
Could you repeat that? I didn't hear you.
Haven
Mr.
uses
Al-Moody, perhaps if sometimes your microphone's right at the front of your computer, are you up against it, maybe muffling the microphone on your computer? It just seems like you're a little muffled, sir. So maybe scoot your body away from your computer, but move your face towards it. Does that make sense?
A little. Ms. Weers, you can use many types of fertilizers, correct?
Yes.
And lawn chemicals?
Yes.
And Haven stopped using lush fertilizer around your third or fourth year on the job, correct?
Could you?
If you could repeat the question, Mr. Al-Moody, I don't think the witness heard the question.
Haven Landscaping stopped using lush fertilizer on the third or fourth year on your job, correct?
I'm sorry, I still can't hear you.
The last time you used lush fertilizer, I'm sorry, Haven Landscaping stopped using lush fertilizer on the third year on the job, correct?
Yes.
And so that means the last time you used lush fertilizer, you were 17, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
And Ms. Weavers, did you tell your company, or did your company tell you to wear protective equipment?
Yes.
Did you wear pants?
No.
Did you wear sleeves?
I wore short sleeves, yes.
Did you wear gloves?
Gloves?
Did you wear gloves?
No, I did not wear gloves.
Did you wear a mask?
No.
Required by your company to wear, correct?
Could you repeat that question?
These were all required for you to wear for your safety by your company, correct?
Yes.
I have no further questions.
All right. Any redirect examination, Ms. Garrett?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may.
Ms. Spears, when did you usually work at Haven Landscaping?
I believe during the summer.
And did the temperatures get high during the summer?
Yes.
And what did you occasionally do when it was too hot?
When it was too hot, my coworkers and I would wear short sleeves, as long as shorts, as long as no gloves and no mask.
Okay. When it was no further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you very much. The witness may step down. Were there any additional witnesses for the for the plaintiff? All right, who's the next witness?
Your Honor.
For the next plaintiff, please?
The plaintiff calls Carson Durst to the stand.
All right.
Good day, Mr. Durst.
Thank you very much.
Good day, Mr. Durst. Good day, Mr. Durst. Will you please tell the court your name and spelling out your last name?
My name is Carson Durst, D-U-R-S-T.
Let's talk about your work experience. What do you currently work for?
I work for Screenery on research development team, working on fertilizing product.
What experience do you have to qualify for that position?
I graduated from the University of Arizona with my bachelor's in chemical engineering.
How did you manage to get this type of position?
I was friends with the Dencourt family.
When did you start working for Lush Fertilizer?
In June of 2003.
What was your job there?
I was a part of the research development team before being promoted to product engineering.
What did you work on as a product development engineer?
I worked on a product called Drufo, a bonding agent for the Lush Fertilizer's patented product that kept it from being, that preserved it and kept it intact.
Did Lush Fertilizer conduct any studies regarding Drupal?
Yes, two while I was there.
I want to talk to you about the study conducted by Lush Fertilizer in September 2003. Tell us about the study conducted in September 2003.
The study in September of 2003 was conducted about the Drufo being carcinogenic to its rats when it was in their feed.
How were you notified of this?
I received the email from project manager Jerry Langley.
Your Honor, I would like to direct opposing counsel, the court, and the witness to what has been marked as Exhibit 4.
All right, thank you.
I now show you what has been marked for identification in Exhibit number 4. What is Exhibit number 4?
Exhibit 4 is an email I received from Jerry Langley on Thursday, September 18th, 2003 at 2:57 p.m.
Does Exhibit 4 accurately and completely reflect the email you received from Jerry Langley?
Yes, it does.
Your Honor, I move that Exhibit number 4 be admitted into evidence.
Defense's position as to Exhibit 4, please.
No objections.
All right, Exhibit 4 shall be admitted. You may continue, Mr. Barnett.
Your Honor, may my co-counsel publish Exhibit number 4 to the jury?
Well, I think that counsel for the other team has been so kind as to do that. But yes, sir, you certainly may.
Tell us why there was a discussion of reopening study conclusions in email.
It was because there was findings on Drufo being carcinogenic towards the rats when it was introduced to the feed, to which Jerry sent out this email stating that the findings are very concerning.
Let's talk about the meeting in December 2003 after September 2003 study had been completed. The meeting in December 2003 at Lush Fertilizer.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I didn't hear you.
I said, did you attend the meeting in December 2003 at Lush Fertilizer?
Yes, I did.
Other than yourself, who was present for the meeting?
The team members on the Lush Fertilizer Development Team, Jerry Langley, and an upper echelon, Alex Monroe.
What was this meeting about?
This meeting was about the first study done that showed that the product was carcinogenic or cancerous in the rats, to which Alex Monroe stated that we should have kept it under the table until we figure out what it is we're doing.
Let's talk about the study you mentioned earlier that was going on in June 2003. What was your role in the first study?
I was reviewing the compounds that make Drufo.
What did you find in your review?
That the compounds in Drufo metabolize in the gastric tract of rodents and humans the same exact way.
Your Honor, I would direct the opposing counsel, the court, and the witness to what is marked as Exhibit 3.
All right, thank you. Exhibit 3, you may proceed.
I now show you what has been marked for identification as Exhibit number 3. What is Exhibit 3?
Exhibit 3 is an article I found from England.
Does Exhibit 3 accurately and completely represent the review you found?
Yes, it does.
Your Honor, I move that Exhibit number 3 be admitted into evidence.
Defense position as to Exhibit 3, please.
No objections, Your Honor.
All right, Exhibit 3 will be admitted without objection. You may proceed, Mr. Barnett.
Your Honor, may my co-counsel publish Exhibit number 3 to the jury?
Again, it has been, but certainly you properly asked, and it may. Thank you, Mr. Barnett.
What did the study indicate it discovered?
It discovered that Drufo was cancerous to rats when introduced in a feed, also with it being cancerous to humans when exposed when the human is unprotected and for frequent long periods of time.
Did you receive a report after the September 2003 study?
Yes, I did.
Was the report accurate?
No, it was not. It didn't even mention non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Did it talk about carcinogenic at all?
Yes, it did. It showed that Drufo could have been baked to rid the product of it having cancerous effects.
Did they ever bake it?
Not that I was aware of.
Thank you, Your Honor. I pass the witness.
All right, cross-examination for the defense.
Good afternoon, Mr. Durst. My name is Julie Valenzuela, and I'll be asking you a few questions today. Please try to keep your answers to a yes or a no. You are the lead product developer for Terra's Greenery, correct?
Correct.
You have worked at Terra from 2006, correct?
Correct.
But before you started at Terra's, you were working at Lush Fertilizer, right?
Correct.
You're very close with the Doncourts, correct?
Correct.
In fact, you're best friends with the CEO's son, Charles, right?
Correct.
The Doncourts are like a family you've never had, is that right?
Correct.
And when you graduated from college, you were not at the top of your class, correct?
Correct.
Yet Lush Fertilizer hired you right out of college?
Correct.
You started to work as an intern with the research and development team, right?
Correct.
You got promoted to a full-time position as a product development engineer after only 3 months, is that right?
Correct.
But as your career at Lush continued, your work started to get criticized?
Correct.
You were even put in a performance improvement plan?
Correct.
And after that, you went to Blake Doncourt, the CEO, to try to fix this.
Correct.
And on one more occasion, Blake Doncourt refused to intervene, correct?
Correct.
And you were ultimately fired from Lush Fertilizer?
Correct.
Okay, Mr. Durst, let's talk about your work at Lush. You believe that studies done by Lush showed a problem with Drufo, right?
Correct.
According to you, none of the studies found any connection with non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
Correct.
And any suggestion of baking Drufo was considered going above and beyond what was necessary to comport with
Correct.
safety. You claim that the study was incredibly misleading, correct?
Correct.
But you also admit that you did not have access to all the data analyzed by the research and development team. Without this access to all the data, you claim that a causal link was buried. Science is about gathering facts, correct?
Correct.
You analyzing data.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
And analyzing data.
Correct.
You have never spoken to the team members about their findings, right?
Correct.
You received an abysmal performance improvement plan? Wait, sorry. You received an abysmal performance review in early 2005?
Yes.
Your last plea for Blake Doncourt to intervene between you and Gary Langley was rejected.
Correct.
Is that a yes?
Have we lost our witness? Can our witness hear okay? I fear we've lost Mr. Durst.
I can barely hear.
Mr. Durst, can you hear now, sir?
I'm still here.
All right, go ahead and give it a try.
Yes.
Ms. Valenzuela, you may proceed.
Your last plea for Blake Doncourt to intervene between you and Gary Langley was rejected, right?
Yes.
At first you were disheartened.
Yes.
Were you seized with anger?
Yes.
You felt confused? By someone who claimed you were part of the family?
Yes.
Now you work for the direct competitor of Lush, correct?
Correct.
And are on the verge of creating a fertilizer that will outperform Lush?
Correct.
When Lush became aware of your job at Terra's, it sued you for the violation of the non-disclosure agreement you had signed when you first started working with Lush?
Yes.
The agreement provided that you could not work in the same field for over a period of 2 years, correct?
Correct.
But Lush agreed to allow you to go to work at Terra's after just 6 months?
Yes.
That's 18 months less than what Lush could have insisted on, right?
Right. Correct. Correct.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Alrighty, was there any redirect for the plaintiff? Mr. Barnett, can you hear me all right?
Oh, you're on.
I'm sorry, I missed you. Did you say there was or was not? One more time.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, now I got it. All right, thank you very much. Next witness, if any, for the plaintiff.
Your Honor, the plaintiff calls Dr. Casey Rogers to the stand.
All right, having been previously sworn, you may proceed. As soon as your names are ready to roll.
Dr. Rogers, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good, thanks for asking. Can you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Dr. Casey Rogers, last name Rogers.
I would like to start by talking about your qualifications.
Of course.
Now, Dr. Rogers, how are you currently employed?
I'm employed as a professor in horticulture and entomology at the University of California at Berkeley.
And can you define horticulture and entomology for us?
Yeah, of course. So horticulture is basically the cultivation and management of a garden, and entomology is related to the branch of zoology with the study of insects.
Tell the jury about the education you have received.
So I have my Bachelor's of Science degree and PhD in agriculture and chemistry from Colorado State University.
Have you ever testified as an expert witness?
I have not testified as an expert witness, but my work has been used in litigation before.
And where did you work prior to earning your PhD?
I worked for a multinational chemical company.
Have you ever published any scholarly publications about chemicals?
Yes, I have published many, since 2003, I have published many articles about the harmful effects of different types of chemicals used in like fertilizer.
Can you tell us about your work with chemicals?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Can you tell us about your work with chemicals?
So basically I would, like I said, I would study the kind of like the negative effects that are found in different types of chemicals.
Can you identify any specific chemicals that you have studied?
Drupa has been a major chemical that I've been studying.
What types of articles have you published?
I published articles about the kind of like the negative effects that are found in Drufo when Drufo is being used in like a fertilizer and stuff like that.
Prior to this case, have you ever provided expert services before?
I have for like other companies and stuff. I have recommended like some ways to be like more protective, kind of precautions to take to be protected around using these chemicals.
Pursuant to Rule 702, plaintiff would tender Dr. Rogers as an expert in horticulture and chemistry with an emphasis on harmful effects of various chemicals on the body.
All right, defense position as to the qualification of the witness as an expert.
I'd like to object in voir dire.
You may voir dire. You may proceed, counsel.
Dr. Rogers, you have a PhD in agriculture and entomology, correct?
Correct.
And a bachelor in chemistry?
That is correct, yes.
You don't have a degree in toxicology.
That is true.
And the study of entomology is the effects of chemicals on bugs?
Yeah, that's correct.
And yet you study the effects of Drufo on the human body?
Yes, that is correct.
And you know the different factors of non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
And you know the different factors of non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
Yes,
And how it works in the human body?
that is correct.
Thank you. That's all for questioning.
Do you maintain your objection, counsel, as to his qualifications?
Yes, I object in the fact that he can talk about entomology and agriculture, but he should not be talking about the effects of Drufo on the human.
All right. Any argument that the plaintiff wishes to make as to the expert's qualifications?
As my witness has stated before, they have been studying the potentially harmful effects prolonged exposure has to chemicals on the body for many years.
All right. Over objection, I will find that by training, the plaintiff has sufficiently shown that this witness may be qualified as an expert. So again, over objection, I will qualify the witness as an expert in the areas sought by the plaintiff. You may proceed, Ms. Gallegos.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you explain to the jury what Drufo is?
Yeah, so Drufo is an ingredient made by Lush that is used in all its products, and it is basically a bonding agent that helps keep the fertilizer like intact.
Why did you become interested in studying Drufo?
Well, I was concerned about the insufficient studies done on it before it was like sort of rushed into the market.
What made you concerned about the sufficiency of the studies conducted regarding Drufo prior to its release?
I was concerned because I wanted to know if there was like any negative side effects that could be like that could have correlation with Drufo.
Now, you stated that you conducted your own studies. Can you tell us about the parameters of the study?
Yeah, so basically I had 3 groups of people, which was one who was exposed to Drufo on a daily basis, one who was occasionally exposed to it, and some that weren't at all.
What conclusions, if any, did you reach following the study about exposure to Drufo?
I concluded that the ones who were exposed to it on a daily basis had like a 10 times more chance of being diagnosed with a disease, and the ones who were occasionally exposed to it had a 5 times more chance.
Can you tell us the basis of all the conclusions you have reached in regards to this case?
I've concluded that Drufo is probably the major thing that causes these diseases to like come from the fertilizers.
Oh, my bad. Within the groups exposed to Drufo, what types of people were there?
These included farmers who were like usually using it on a daily basis, and gardeners who usually occasionally.
And can you tell us about non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
Yeah, so non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is a disease that starts in the lymph system, which is like connected to the immune system. So it could kind of like spread from there. Of course, it spreads at different rates, but yeah, it could spread throughout the rest of the body when starting in the lymph system.
Can you explain to us the impact of non-Hodgkin's?
Non-Hodgkin's could kind of corrupt the immune system, and the immune system protects people from getting like diseases and stuff like that.
Is non-Hodgkin's curable?
Sadly, like other cancers, it is not.
Can it be treated?
It could be treated with things like chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and like, oh wait, treated.
Okay.
I'm sorry, could you restate the question?
Can it be treated?
It could be treated with things like chemotherapy, radiotherapy, monoclonal antibodies, and yeah, things like that, basically.
Okay. Specifically, does it affect the immune system?
I'm sorry, your mic cut out.
Specifically, does it affect the immune system?
Yeah, it affects the immune system to get like more compromised. It compromises the immune system.
And can you tell us about what you know about the symptoms of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
Symptoms could include things like tiredness, loss of weight, or rapidly losing weight, loss of appetite, things like that.
How is non-Hodgkin's lymphoma diagnosed?
It could be diagnosed with bone marrow biopsy, CT scans, MRI scans, and blood tests.
Did your study go beyond monitoring health conditions observed in participants in the study?
Yeah, I kind of got ideas on how like to stop it from spreading, you know.
Given the increased incidence of non-Hodgkin lymphoma and other cancers in study participants exposed to Drufo, is there a way to prevent exposure to Drufo?
Yeah, you could companies can prevent it by just discontinuing Drupal altogether.
From your study, how are you able to find out how the exposure to Drufo occurred to individuals that participated in your study?
I found out that it was mostly they breathed it in or it got in through like their skin.
Given the manner of exposure observed, beyond stopping use of Drufo altogether, are there other precautions you would suggest to individuals beginning to use Drufo instead of discontinuing Drufo?
Yeah, the user could be wearing things like masks or long sleeves and long pants.
As part of your work in this case, did you review any materials?
Yeah, I reviewed Dakota Weir's employment and medical records.
Are these types of records reasonably relied upon by experts in your field, informing opinions?
Yes.
What did you discover from Dakota Weir's employment records?
I discovered that Dakota Weir's worked for landscaping companies and was for about 4 years and was exposed to these chemicals every day when working there.
Did you draw any similarities between Dakota Weir's level of exposure in correlation with the level of exposure reached by the participants in your study?
Yeah, so the ones they had kind of the same result to Dakota Weir's had the same result to the ones who were exposed to Drupa or the chemicals on a daily basis.
And what did you confirm or discover from Dakota Weir's medical records?
I discovered that Dakota Weir's was, you know, how do I word this? That Dakota Weir's was probably like using the product like for a continuous amount of time, basically.
In applying reliable principles and methods to the facts of this case, do you have an opinion as to how Dakota acquired non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
Yeah, so based on my research and the knowledge that I have to me, I could conclude that Drufo is probably the main factor that caused the disease in Dakota Weir's.
Based upon your training, education, and experience, the facts and data available, and application of reliable scientific principles and methods, did you form an opinion with a reasonable degree of probability as to the cause of Dakota Weir's non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
That's time.
Yes, I conclude that.
All right, here's what I'm going to do. The question was asked within time, so I'll allow the witness to answer, but no further questions. You may answer the last question, doctor.
Yes, I concluded that Drupal was the main factor that caused Dakota Weir's non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Was there a cross-examination then for the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed, Ms. Peters.
Good evening, Dr. Rogers. I am Leah Peters, and I'll be asking you a few questions today. You've never testified as an expert witness before?
No, I have not used in litigation.
And you've claimed that Drufo has proven to be carcinogenic in rats, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Your mic cut out a little bit.
You've claimed that Drufo has proven to be carcinogenic in rats, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And you did a study in which you allegedly found that Drufo does cause cancer.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the last part?
You did do a study in which you allegedly found Drufo does cause cancer.
Yes,
But this work hasn't been peer reviewed, has it?
that is correct.
And you are aware that Dakota Weirs claims that they developed non-Hodgkin lymphoma from Drufo in lush fertilizer?
Yes,
And your study is the only one that shows a link between Drufo and cancer in humans.
yes,
And you are aware that there are other studies that do not reach the same conclusion as yours?
Objection, lack of knowledge.
Pardon?
Objection, lack of knowledge.
Response from the defense?
It's not lack of knowledge because he already has looked at the other, records of with rats in the study. So he has looked at other studies.
All right. Based upon that objection, I will overrule it. You may answer the question, doctor.
Could you repeat that?
There are other studies that do not reach the same conclusion as yours?
I believe so, yes.
And most people who are exposed to Drufo usually work in the gardening industry?
Yes,
And they're exposed to many other types of chemicals used in fertilizers?
that is correct. The majority is Drupal.
Can you say that again? You broke up.
I said that is correct, but the majority is Drupal.
But these fertilizers have other chemicals such as pesticides, herbicides, and other toxins?
Correct.
And you didn't do any other research regarding any other chemicals found in fertilizer or in that industry?
Correct.
You claim that those working with Drufo should be wearing protective gear?
Yes,
They should cover their skin, eyes, hair, etc.
correct.
Dakota Weirs did not wear any of this kind of protective clothing?
That is correct. On occasion.
And Lush Fertilizer specifically warned users that they should use these types of protection?
I believe so, but some coworkers were also not while they were working there. So yeah.
But on Lush Fertilizer, it says to wear protective gear on their product. To avoid any injury that might arise from exposure.
Correct.
You are also aware that Dakota Weir's employer told him to wear protective clothing, eye and breathing protection?
Correct.
So Dakota Weir's intentionally failed to take reasonable precautions when using Lush Fertilizer?
On occasion, yes.
On occasion? So sometimes he did wear protective gear?
Depending on the temperature of the day.
No further
Correct.
questions.
All right. Any redirect for the plaintiff? Ms. Gallegos.
No time left, so
I'm sorry, ma'am, did you say nothing further?
there's no time left.
Oh, that's right. You ran out. I appreciate your honesty. Thank you very much, Ms. Gallegos. All right, that would be the last witness for the plaintiff. Am I correct, counsel?
You're correct.
All right. With my apologies to the teams as well as the scorers, I'm having an administrative problem that I need to deal with very, very briefly. So this isn't really a recess. I'm not allowing the attorneys that. I just need a brief moment. So I'm going to put a pause on. Don't run the clocks, and I'll be right back. All right. So everybody hang in there, and we'll be right back. All right, thank you for your patience, folks. Do I have everybody back? I'm hoping I do. Most importantly, I want to make sure I've got my scoring panelists still. I'm taking the lack of a response as a resounding yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. All right. I think we have everybody then. I believe we are now set to proceed with the defense case. First witness for the defense, please.
Defense would like to call Miss Blake Doncourt to the stand.
All right, you may proceed, sir. The witness having been previously sworn.
Good afternoon. My name is Gavin Moody. I'll be direct examining you this afternoon. Can you please state your full name and spell your last?
My name is Blake Doncourt. That's Doncurt.
Ms. Doncourt, are you currently employed?
I am currently employed at Lush Fertilizer Corporations.
And Ms. Doncourt, what is your role at Lush Fertilizer?
I am the Chief Executive Officer at Lush Fertilizer.
How many years have you been the CEO?
I have been the CEO for over 20 years now.
Can you tell me about some of the awards Lush Fertilizer has received for its charity work, if any?
Well, let me tell you, for our generous charity work, we have received the Steel Business Sustainability Award.
And have you won any awards yourself, Ms. Doncourt?
Well, I myself have won and been nominated for the United Nations Champions of the Earth Award.
Why were you nominated for these awards?
Well, down to our core roots, at Lush, we are environmentalists. I am a humanitarian, and I prioritize that as one of the core pillars for our company.
Ms. Doncourt, who is Carson Durst?
Carson Durst is a former employee of mine, whom I had considered like a second son to me.
And what happened between Carson Durst and Lush Fertilizer?
Well, let me tell you. Carson Durst released a proprietary communication in the form of an email that alleges to the identity of Drufo as being a carcinogen. Let me tell you right now, that email is completely manufactured and the claims are false.
And Ms. Doncourt, can you tell us about the study Lush Fertilizer conducted regarding Drufo?
Our toxicology department conducted various studies, which all were inconclusive and don't allege the identity of Drufo as being carcinogenic, meaning it is completely safe.
Ms. Doncourt, does Lush bake their fertilizer?
No. From a business and a scientific perspective, it is unnecessary to bake our fertilizer. Simply overkill.
And why is it unnecessary to bake the fertilizer?
Well, baking the fertilizer it's like I said before, it's unnecessary because of the cost it poses for the little to no risk. There's practically no risk in baking our fertilizer or without baking our fertilizer.
Has your company analyzed the financial reports of baking?
Yes, we have.
Your Honor, I'm showing opposing counsel what has been marked as Exhibit 8 for identification. Permission to present?
You may.
Ms. Doncourt, what I've just shown to you has been previously marked as Exhibit 8. Do you recognize this?
I do.
What is this?
This is our 10-year amortization plan, ranging from 2004 to 2014.
And who made this document?
I made this document.
Was it something you used to track profitability?
Yes, I do.
Does Lush frequently track their financial spendings?
Yes, it's a standard business practice.
Ms. Doncourt, are you familiar with these findings?
Yes, I am.
Is this a complete description of the report?
Yes, it is.
Is it an accurate description of the report?
It is.
Is it altered in any way?
No, it is not.
Your Honor, defense moves to the entry of Exhibit 8 into evidence. Its authenticity has been stipulated and its accuracy has been shown.
All right, plaintiff's position as to Exhibit 8, please.
Okay.
Sorry, Ms. Gallegos, say again, please.
No objections.
All right, 8 will be admitted. You may proceed, Mr. Al-Moody.
Ms. Doncourt, what is the estimated increase in profits by eliminating baking?
By eliminating baking, our estimated profit increase is 6% in the first year, and it increases by 2% every year thereafter.
Ms. Doncourt, what did that look like in actual numbers?
Well, let me tell you. Our baking costs were reduced by around $250,000 annually, and our estimated overall revenue loss was by the end of these 10 years, it was around $2.6 million.
And why is that important, Ms. Doncourt?
Well, we use this money to pay our employees a competitive wage, and we use this money to pay our shareholders who demand a profit from our company. And lastly, we donate 10% of our profits to charity.
Thank you, Ms. Doncourt. That will be all.
Thank you.
All right, cross-examination for the plaintiff.
Okay. Good afternoon, Ms. Doncourt. How are you doing today? I'm sorry, could you give an answer?
Good afternoon.
Oh, thank you. My name is Sophia Hernandez, and I'm going to be asking you some questions today.
Okay.
Ms. Doncourt, you are the Chief Executive Officer of Lush Fertilizer Inc., correct?
Yeah, that is correct. That is my position.
You brought growth and recognition to Lush since 2000. Is this true?
Yes, that is correct.
Lush Fertilizer is one of the world's largest suppliers of yard and commercial fertilizers, correct?
That is correct.
Lush Fertilizer is used by businesses, governments, and individuals.
Yes.
Your witness statement says green grass is a part of the American dream.
Yes.
Lush Fertilizer is used to produce vibrant, lush, and green grass.
Yes, that is what I said in my statement.
Lush is a profitable company, which has been due to the success of Lush Fertilizer, correct?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Can you say that question again?
Lush is a profitable company, which has been due to the success of Lush Fertilizer, correct?
Yes.
Your fertilizers contain a bonding agent called Drufo.
Yes.
You claim that your extensive research and testing didn't identify any specific risks, right?
That is correct. Drufel is completely safe.
Okay. You claim that you conducted this research and testing before the product was released on the market.
That is correct.
You don't think your product needs a warning?
Our product has a warning label, as do all.
I don't recall that it has a warning label.
And it has a warning for eye irritation, and it has a list of our ingredients.
Okay. You claim that your toxicology research and development team found nothing in the product to require a warning?
Yes.
You are aware Casey Rogers conducted a study, correct?
Dr. Casey, yes, I am aware.
Okay. You are aware Casey Rogers' study concluded that there was a reasonable probability that Drufo was carcinogenic in humans?
That is not in my statement. Would you still like me to answer that question?
To the best of your ability, yes, please.
I was not made aware that he had a statement, that he made this statement.
Okay, thank you. You've indicated that you are unaware of any valid scientific evidence showing a reasonable probability that Drufo is carcinogenic?
That is correct. That's why I maintain my stance on that Drufo.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. You never indicated in your statement that you were unaware that one of Lush's scientists expressed concern during a study conducted by your company?
That is correct.
You never indicated in your statement that you were unaware that one of Lush's scientists expressed concern that Drufo may contain a carcinogen, but that her analysis found that it was perhaps linked to non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
No, that is correct. I'm not made aware.
Oh, I said you were not unaware.
Oh no, I was unaware.
You never indicated in your statement that you were unaware that the same scientist expressed concern that Drufo was perhaps linked to non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
Can you show me where in my statement I said that?
Yeah. No, I think you heard it wrong, the question. You never indicated in your statement that you were unaware that the same scientist expressed concern. Whatever. Oh, my bad, sorry. Should we proceed to the next question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for your patience. You admitted that Lush does not bake any products, correct?
Yeah, we do not bake our fertilizers.
Okay. Baking the fertilizer would remove any risk that your fertilizer was carcinogenic?
I'm just now being made aware of that, so yes.
If you would reference page 33, lines 109 through 110, you kind of alluded towards that.
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you. It's simply overkill. This directly follows your statement regarding not baking the products, correct?
Yes, that's what I said.
Exhibit 8 reflects you could increase your products by 6% in the first year by not baking them?
Yes, that is correct.
Exhibit 8 reflects you could increase your profits by an additional 2% in the second year.
Yes, by 2% every year thereafter, added on.
Okay, thank you. You needed the increased revenue to pay the vulture capitalists who provided your company with seed funds?
Yes, those are what our shareholders are.
You think the baking process was just too expensive for the little risk it alleviated?
Yes.
You thought baking it would have been overkill?
Yes, that is what I.
Okay, no further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right. You're excused. Next witness for the defense, please.
Your Honor, we would like to call Mr. Skylar Weirs.
I'll let you do that. If you want to take a moment to correct your name, you're welcome to do that, counsel.
Yes, please. Okay.
All right. May proceed, counsel.
Good evening, Mr. Weirs. I am Julie Valenzuela, and I'll be asking you a few questions. Please start by stating your name and spelling your last name.
I am Skylar Weirs, Weirs.
Mr. Weirs, why are you here?
I'm here to testify to the fact that Lush has done nothing wrong.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Weirs?
I am an investigative journalist.
What does an investigative journalist do?
Essentially, I am assigned a series of topics to investigate and write articles on, and then I present my findings in those articles, and then I sell the articles.
Mr. Weirs, what is the Rationalist Society?
The Rationalist Society is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to spreading healthy scientific skepticism around certain things with a lot of, well, skepticism.
Did you go to college, Mr. Weirs?
No, I did not. I choose to forego college because at the time it did not make financial sense.
Does your job require a college education?
No, it does not. I'm self-taught.
Have you heard of the chemical Drufo before?
Yes, I have.
Have you done any research regarding Drufo?
Yes, I have.
What kind of research?
Well, because Lush and Drufo was part of one of those topics I was working on my articles, those two topics were included in my extensive research for those series of articles I was writing. So I spent some time researching both Lush and Drufo.
In which fields do you research?
Modern agritech.
What is modern agritech?
Modern agritech is essentially the practices of the companies that are dedicated to developing certain agricultural products and how they develop them and their own business practices for those companies.
So, has this research provided a deeper understanding on modern?
I doubt that anyone has the overall perspective on modern agritech than I do, aside from the NASDA and the USDA.
Your Honor, defense moves to admit Mr. Skylar Weirs as an expert in the field of investigative journalism and analyzing the current state of research on the effect of Drufo on humans.
All right, people's position as to the qualification of the witness.
I object to the part of Mr. Ware's tendering as to the analyzing effects of Drufo on humans, as they have general knowledge and statistical information and can not provide a medical probability of causation for Drufo without a medical license or education of some kind.
Response from the defense, please.
We are admitting Skylar as an expert with the research journalist, and Your Honor, the court has already considered the motion to preclude the expert testimony. This motion was denied. The court said that the witness can be tendered as an expert pursuant to Rule 702 This rule says that a witness can be an expert if the expert shows proficiency for any of the 5 categories listed in the rule. These include knowledge, skill, experience, training, or education. We have shown that Skylar Weirs has knowledge, skill, and self-education to be considered an expert witness, which self-education is education.
All right,
May I respond, Your Honor?
you may.
I am not denying that Mr. Weirs does have ample experience in the field of investigative journalism or even agritech, but the only part of that I object to is that Mr. Weirs has no medical knowledge on the effects of Drufo on humans. They know statistical information and general knowledge, and can in no way testify on behalf of medical probability.
All right. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grant in part the defense request to qualify this witness as an expert. I will qualify the witness as an expert in the area of investigative journalism only. So he may testify in that area only as an expert. You may proceed, Ms. Valenzuela.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Mr. Weirs, have you formed an opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty as to whether Drufo causes cancer to humans?
Well, after all of my investigating into the subject and after my research, I believe that Drufo does not have any harm to the human body. No.
Objection, outside scope.
Response, Ms. Valenzuela.
Your Honor, this is within the scope of his expertise because it has to do with how he formed his opinion.
Yeah, this is a tough one. It may have, had I permitted him to testify in that area. I've permitted him to testify as an expert in the area of investigative journalism, but not in this area. So the plaintiff's objection is sustained. I will not consider his opinion as it relates to Drufo. You may continue.
Why is Drufo a revolution?
Drufo is a revolutionary product because, first of all, it's better for the environment. It bonds to the other active ingredients in Lush, and it makes it so there is less nitrogen runoff in the soil and groundwater, thereby reducing the overall global nitrogen footprint for every home that uses Lush fertilizer. And other than the environmental impact, it's just all around better for the fertilizer than its competitors, because due to this bonding, it makes it so Lush fertilizer only has to be applied once or twice a year, while their competitors offer fertilizer that needs to be applied 5 to 6 times a year. It's just better.
Have you heard of Lush Fertilizer Inc.?
Yes, I have.
What do you know about them?
I know that they are the company that developed Drufo and put in their fertilizer. I know that they are the company being scrutinized against, and I know that they donate 10% of their annual profits to very admirable charities.
Objection, narrative.
No, I think that was, well, is there a response, Ms. Valenzuela? Go ahead.
He's just trying to explain what he knows about Lush Fertilizer, nothing more extensive.
I agree. The objection's overruled. You may continue. Actually, ask your next question, counsel.
Okay. Mr. Weirs, why has Drufo been so heavily criticized?
Look, this has happened before. It's happening again right here, right now. When somebody in modern agritech makes a massive development in their field, all of the quote old guard of modern agritech will do their best to bury it so they can keep their more inferior products on the shelves
Objection,
selling.
non-responsive.
Well, I think it actually is responsive, so I'll overrule the objection. You may finish your answer, Mr. Weirs.
Oh, thank you, but I was finished.
All right, next question then, please, Ms. Valenzuela.
I'd like to talk about your relationship with Dakota. So, Mr. Weirs, what is your connection to the plaintiff today?
Dakota is my twin sister.
Did you and your twin grow up in the same home?
Yes, we did.
Did you go to school together?
Yes, we did.
Did you two grow up in similar environments?
Essentially, yes.
At what point did your environments differ from one another?
When Dakota got her job at Havens Landscaping because I couldn't work there due to my allergy to grass.
And so today you're testifying against Dakota.
That is correct.
How do you make your money?
Like I said, I am an investigative journalist, so I write my articles and I sell them to people to publish, so I get some income there, but I also have a second job working at Applebee's to make ends meet.
Do you have any financial issues that cause you a problem today?
Yes, I do admittedly have the vice of gambling, so I have amassed quite a significant amount of debt due to this.
Has your siblings' condition impacted your family life?
Yes, when Dakota got cancer, it meant that my family could no longer support me financially, like my dad, which obviously I understand. It's Dakota's health versus my own past mistakes. Obviously, I have no resentment towards Dakota for getting this money, and that's why I have my second job to work myself out of that hole I put myself into.
Thank you. No more further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Let's see. I think, well, geez, I've lost my place. I've written this down, but I'm afraid I wrote it wrong. We haven't had cross-examination. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, goodness gracious. I apologize, counsel. You may proceed.
Good afternoon, Mr. Weirs.
Good afternoon.
I want to start by talking about your gambling history.
Okay.
You do have a history with gambling, correct?
Yes, I do.
And you put yourself into a hole a few years ago, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. You haven't recovered yet, correct?
I'm working on it. Yeah.
Yes.
So no, I have not technically recovered yet.
Your father wasn't pleased with this, correct?
I can't expect him to be pleased. It was a foolish thing to get myself into.
Is that a yes?
Yes,
Now, he cut off your financial support, correct?
that is correct.
But he has not written you out of the will yet, correct?
No, not to my knowledge.
Yes. Okay. Your dad is shouldering the cost of Dakota's treatment, correct?
Yes, he is.
And in your statement, you expressed concern with your father's money being ran dry with Dakota's medical expenses, correct?
Obviously, I'm concerned that because now Dakota, obviously, she cannot pay for her own because she's
Sorry,
unemployed.
is that a yes?
Well, I'm just concerned about my father's financial state. I don't feel entitled to that money, so I guess yes.
And you and your sibling don't have the typical close sibling relationship, correct?
Regrettably so. No, we do not.
And you are not supporting your twin in this lawsuit, correct?
No, I'm testifying against her.
Let's move on to your qualifications. You work for Rationalist magazine, correct?
That's right.
And Rationalist magazine is a scientific magazine, correct?
Yes,
Rationalist magazine promotes scientific skepticism, correct?
yes. Healthy skepticism is something that everyone should have in all regards.
However, you did not receive an associate's degree in investigative journalism, correct?
No, as I stated previously, I did not attend college.
Yes. And you did not receive a bachelor's of science, correct?
Yes, you cannot obtain a bachelor's without going to college, and I did not go to college.
Okay. Your knowledge base involves general information, correct?
I suppose.
Now, I want to talk about your work with Drufo. From your studies, you haven't completely ruled out the possibility of Drufo causing cancer, correct?
I suppose not. Obviously, you can't know for sure.
And you've personally conducted no studies on Drufo.
Well, of course not. I'm not a scientist. I'm a journalist. I report on the studies.
Is that a no?
No,
And you've indicated there is probably never going to be a chemical fertilizer that is truly safe, correct?
they are all fertilizers and they all come with their own set of risks.
Is that a
no.
yes?
Oh, yes, sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
All right. Any redirect for the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Are there any further witnesses for the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. We would like to call Dr. Devin Williams.
All right, Dr. Williams, having been previously sworn, I'll let you get a chance to get your name corrected.
Okay.
You may proceed, Ms. Peters.
Good afternoon, Dr. Williams. I'm Malia Peters, and I'll be asking you a few questions today. Please state your name and spell your last name for the court. Oh, you're muted, Dr. Williams.
I'm so sorry about that. My name is Devin Williams, Williams.
And what exactly do you do, Dr. Williams?
Well, I lead the toxicology research and development labs at Lush Fertilizer, I'm sorry.
And what does that consist of?
Well, it consists of understanding biological systems and how they relate to environmental interventions. I work to find out what things are toxic, and I try to avoid that harm.
Do you work anywhere outside of Lush Fertilizer?
Yes, I teach at the University of New Mexico.
Let's talk about your education. Where did you go to college?
I got my undergrad and my PhD at Colorado State University, and my post-PhD program was completed at the University of Utah.
And what did you major in?
I majored in pharmacology and toxicology.
Your Honor, let the record reflect I am showing to opposing counsel a copy of Exhibit 9. Your Honor, permission to approach the witness with what has been pre-marked as Exhibit 9.
You may.
Are you familiar with this document, Dr. Williams?
Yes, it's my curriculum vitae.
Is this a fair and accurate and complete copy of your CV?
Yes, it is.
And you update this on a regular for your occupation?
Yes, it's part of my business practices.
Your Honor, permission to move what has been pre-marked as Exhibit 9 into evidence?
All right, plaintiff's position on Exhibit 9. So were the attorneys able to hear the response? I did not.
I did not hear.
Has the plaintiff responded? Counsel for the plaintiff?
Can you repeat the question, Your Honor?
I just need to know your position on the admission of Exhibit 9, sir.
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah, do you object to admitting Exhibit 9?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Exhibit 9 shall be admitted. You may proceed, Ms. Peters.
Dr. Williams, can you please explain to us the topics of some of your publications?
Yes, I've done a lot of publications on how chemicals affect rats, and rats are very biologically similar to humans.
And you've also taught a few courses.
I have. I currently teach Forensic Toxicology 1 and 2, Principles of Forensic Toxicology, and Toxicology of Environmental and Occupational Chemicals.
Your Honor, the defense moves to admit Dr. Williams as an expert witness in the areas of pharmacology, toxicology, and the impact DRUFO has on the human body as her knowledge, skill, experience, training, and education has been demonstrated.
All right, I believe that's Mr. Barnett, your position on the qualification of this witness as an expert, sir.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, the witness will be so qualified. You may proceed, Ms. Peters.
Dr. Williams, when did you start working for Lush?
Around 2010, so 7-ish years ago.
And what has your job consisted of?
Well, I started as a lab technician, but I've since been promoted to lead those very labs.
And you use DRUFO in your day-to-day job?
Yes, we do.
What exactly is DRUFO?
DRUFO is a revolutionary chemical compound we use in our fertilizers. It's going to be groundbreaking for the agricultural industry.
And is it environmentally friendly?
Yes, very much so.
What makes it so environmentally aware and friendly?
Well, it stops the eutrophication process, which is basically a buildup of nitrates in the water systems, which affect fish and humans negatively. So DRUFO helps to bind to the plants better, so less nitrates get washed away into the water systems.
Is DRUFO banned in any other country other than the US?
Yes, it's banned actually in the entirety of the EU. but not for any carcinogenic qualities it may possess, because it doesn't possess any. It actually is because of the excess buildup of nitrates that happens in lab studies. These findings are not reflected in the real world, though.
So the EU banned it because it's so successful?
Yes, I believe so. The EU has simply ridiculous standards on how many nitrates can be allowed in lab tests. Lab tests are not the same as what happens in the real world.
So you hope the decision by the EU will be retracted?
Yes, my team and I are currently working on a study that will help prove that Drufo and Lush fertilizer is completely safe.
And to move on, do you think Drufo causes cancer?
Not at all.
And more specifically in cancer, non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
No, not in the slightest bit.
Is there something else that you think could have caused non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
Yes, I believe so. The plaintiff, Dakota Weirs, even stated themselves that they work commonly with other types of fertilizers. And when you're working with other types of fertilizers that also possess harmful chemicals, it's statistically likely that someone's going to get non-Hodgkin lymphoma. But we don't know if they would have gotten it anyways.
So you've reached an opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific probability as to whether Drufo causes cancer in humans?
I have, and I don't believe it does at all.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. No further questions.
All right, cross-examination for the plaintiff. Mr. Barnett?
Good morning, Dr. Williams. Let's talk about your research department. About half the before you started, correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
I said, let's talk about your research department at Lush. About half the team left right before you started, correct?
Yes, sadly, there was a bit of turnover.
Part of your job was to keep Drupal cost effective, correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I said part of your job was to keep Drupal cost effective, correct?
Yes, I work for a company, a fertilizer company. That's my job.
The point of developing Drupal was to limit eutrophication or runoff nitrates into water, correct?
Yes, that's correct. We aim to be environmentally friendly and advance the field of science.
Yet Drupal is banned throughout EU, correct?
Yes, but as for how I stated, it's only banned because of nitrate buildup in labs.
Lush chose not to challenge this decision, correct?
No, we were a new company at the time, just starting up.
Yet Lush still sells fertilizers in EU, just not with Drupal, right?
Yes, that is correct, sadly, but we're working to change that with a study we're working on.
So your do-good company still sells non-Drupal fertilizer in EU and has been regardless of if there was eutrophication, correct?
Yes, but we of course hope to change this in the future to bring a better product to the agricultural world.
And if Lush is found to have caused cancer, it creates new roadblocks, making it even more difficult to get Drupal approved in the EU, correct?
Yes, of course, causing cancer is horrible, but Drufo just doesn't do that.
And Dr. Williams, do you agree that you can't rule out that Drupal could cause cancer, correct?
We're currently working on a study, but I have no reason at all to believe it would cause cancer.
Let's talk about Dr. Rogers' study. You were concerned that Dr. Rogers only had data from one study, correct?
Dr. Rogers did only have data from one study, and their study is not peer-reviewed, so it's not even scientifically relevant.
Is that a yes or a no?
That's a yes.
Yet, Lush itself has not made any attempt to replicate the study, correct?
We're currently working on a study that is more scientifically accurate.
Is that a yes?
That's a yes.
You feel that Dr. Rogers is set out to find harmful effects? You feel that Dr. Rogers set out to find harmful effects of Drupal, right?
Yes, you should always question someone's results when they find what they set out to find.
You have a financial stake in the outcome of this case, don't you?
I will admit I do. In the end, I do work for a company.
No more questions, Your Honor.
All right. Is there any redirect then, Ms. Peters?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
As a scientist, what you're looking for is based on the data, not based on anyone else's thoughts.
Of course, we aim to further the scientific world with our discoveries.
And you and your team are currently working on a study to research more into Drufo?
Yes, we want to make the best product that we can.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. Any further witnesses for the defense?
No further witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, I believe then the people's case, the plaintiff's case and the defendant's case have closed. Let's turn to then closing arguments, please. Closing arguments for the plaintiff.
Before I do my closing argument, can I address something?
Yes, Ms. Gallegos, go ahead.
I'd like to apologize for my outburst. I didn't catch their last name, but I know that their first name is Mia.
Ma'am, I didn't hear an outburst, so if somebody else did, I appreciate what you said, but I did not hear an outburst, ma'am.
Well, I said whatever, so I think I would consider that as an outburst.
Okay. And I'm having a hard time hearing you, Ms. Gallegos. I'm terribly sorry.
I am. I really am. I didn't mean to direct that towards Miss Mia. That was kind of towards myself because I was confused by my own questions, which showed that I was kind of incompetent in asking those questions to that witness.
No, don't worry about it at all. Totally okay.
All right.
Are you sure?
I will leave the attorneys to discuss this afterwards. We're still in open court, counsel. Let's finish this case, please.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Does the plaintiff wish to make a closing statement?
Yes, please.
You may proceed, ma'am.
Cutting corners, cutting lives. This brings us to the end of the case. Sadly, Dakota Wares will never be cured, but there's a strong hope of finding justice amidst all of this. Members of the jury, I hope you're able to see that Lush is negligent in the failure to put a warning label on their packaging, which led to the tragic end of Dakota's health, as well as everything else Dakota enjoyed. All of this happened due to carelessness and negligence of a false environmental savior called Lush Fertilizer, which cut short Dakota Ware's joy and essentially life. All three witnesses have shown that Lush Fertilizer is responsible for cutting corners and cutting lives, all for the purpose of financial gain and performative activism. Dakota Wares has been very brave today in coming to share his tragic story with everyone here against such a large company with a lot of power. Dr. Casey Rogers is a helping hand in this case due to his extensive knowledge and research, and Carson Durst is as much of an ally in being able to reveal the dark truth of an evil called Lush Fertilizer. A greedy twin sibling, a greedy CEO, a greedy scientist. Greed, greed, greed. You heard Don Ford say that making the products would simply be overkill, that it was just too expensive. All of this over the cost of preventing the risk. In an attempt to salvage their reputation, the company went above and beyond to try and hide various reports of toxicity in their fertilizer. Members of the jury, if you could please ask yourself if you want to defend good and evil, or if you want to give justice to a victim of this evil. I'd be off.
Thank you very much. I'll just ask that the timekeeper note the time reserved for rebuttal. All right. Does the defense wish to make a closing argument?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed, ma'am.
Show me a hero, and I will write you a tragedy. Good afternoon, Your Honor, opposing counsel and jury. My name is Malia Peters, along with my co-counsel, Julie Valenzuela and Gavin Almoody. I had the privilege of representing Lush Fertilizer in today's trial. Today, we heard about Lush Fertilizer's revolutionary product, Drufo, which has changed the agricultural industry. Drufo is a bonding agent, which allows for the fertilizer to do its job more effectively. Drufo only has to be applied once or twice a year compared to 5 or 6 times a year to the generic fertilizer. But this means that Drufo is not only cost-effective for the customer, but it makes the world a better place by reducing the amount of nitrogen buildup in the environment. Drufo is a hero in its industry. But the old guard of agricultural technology does not want to see Lush succeed. As you heard today, Lush's competitors have spent inordinate amounts of money to turn Drufo into a tragedy. These campaigns were spread throughout the country and into the living room of one Dakota Weirs. In this case before you, the plaintiff presented insufficient evidence to find my client negligent. The plaintiff stated that while working for Haven Landscaping, that they used many different fertilizers. The plaintiff stated that they did not wear proper protective equipment. The plaintiff also stated they did not think of Lush until a year after their diagnosis, while watching the news and a campaign against Lush was broadcasted. The plaintiff also called Dr. Casey Rogers to testify. Dr. Rogers has stated her opinion in the field of toxicology, but she is not qualified to give her statement in the matter of toxicology. She can give her opinion in chemistry or horticulture and entomology. The plaintiff also called Carson Durst to the stand. Carson Durst is a disgruntled former employee who was unqualified for the job then and is just as unqualified to testify now. Carson Durst was terminated for poor performance and took the stand today as an employee making significantly more money at one of the competitors who want to turn Drufo into that tragedy. The defense has stated many times that Lush fertilizer is 1, carcinogenic to rats, which are pests to agriculture. 2, how to properly use Lush fertilizer while using proper protective gear such as gloves, masks, long clothing, etc., which the plaintiff ignored for comfort. 3, as a company, they have no control over what the consumers do once they have the product. They can put warnings and how to handle with the product with care, but the responsibility falls on the consumer in the end. Lush is a great company who is making agriculture a better industry to work in and use, and their competition is being left in the old era of agricultural technology. With this, anyone would want to find fault in someone's success. The competition has attempted to turn the hero into a tragedy. That is exactly what the plaintiff is trying to do. Everyone here feels for the plaintiff and their condition, but we believe, however, that Dakota Weirs is misguided in who is at fault. Lush fertilizer is helping the world evolve with its fertilizer. In this case of falsehoods would destroy my client's reputation and set them back in their accomplishments, or even worse, risking everyone losing their beneficial products everywhere. My witnesses have more than proved that Lush fertilizer is a completely safe and valued product. The CEO, Blake Doncourt, stated that there is very minor risk in Drufo, as well as if there was a problem, Carson Durst, a former employee of Lush fertilizer, could have brought that problem to them at any point, but didn't until now. Skylar Weirs mentioned how Lush fertilizer is an effective pesticide, and compared to other fertilizers, this is just the more effective one because it only needs to be applied 1 to 2 times a year, and that there are chemicals in any fertilizer, no matter how far we go, and there's going to be risk towards it. Finally, Dr. Williams, who has a degree in toxicology and whose job is to find the risks in chemicals against humans, and has stated there are no harms of Lush nor Drufo. As I had stated, show me a hero and I will write you a tragedy. I am not one for the dramatics, but this line is exactly what's happening and we cannot let the plaintiff get away with it. This is our future in agriculture at risk here. We cannot stand for the destruction of something so good just because of a concentrated misguidance. Instead of accusing Lush fertilizer for something they didn't do, we should educate the people. We ask you, the jury, to render the only verdict that is fair, not guilty. Lush fertilizer is the hero. Don't let them fall from this tragedy over something they didn't even do. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Peters. Does the plaintiff wish to make a rebuttal closing?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, within the time you have left, you may proceed, Ms. Gallegos.
A simple warning label could have resolved this case. No, it would have meant this case wouldn't have ever happened. Instead of putting the blame on the landscaping company or other fertilizers, if we erase the use of Drufo and Lush's products from the beginning of this equation, Dakota Weirs would have lived a long and joyful life. I mean, Doncourt's own lead toxicology scientist was unable to prove whether Drufo was safe or not, which is probably the start of the instability of Lush fertilizer and the company behind that product. The opposing counsel states that they are for the truth, and the truth is, in this cruel reality, that Dakota Weirs is well aware of this hard truth and living through the agony of it every single day. Members of the jury, I implore you to prove that there is still at least an ounce of justice in the system and help us in order to accomplish a guilty verdict for Lush Fertilizers Company. That is all. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. All right. Wow. All right, guys, everybody can smile now. Breathe a sigh of relief. I'm going to clap for you guys. You did it. You made it. I don't see any smiles. Let's see some pictures, guys. Come on. Everybody turn on your video. Let's see where you're at. All right, come on, guys. Let's get a little video action here. Come on. All right. You guys should all be smiling. You made it. 4th round. You did it. I'm going to let our scoring panelists finish up. I suspect that they don't have too much, and then I'll give you some time to talk to them. Here's the deal, guys. I want you to all know that it takes so much courage to do what you did. When I was in high school, I could have never done what you're doing now. It is amazing the courage that you had to do this. So each and every one of you should be so proud of yourselves. And I'm sure your parents and friends and family members watching are so proud of you all right now. So please take some of that with you. It was clear to me that you folks knew your material. I didn't think you were fumbling around to find it. There was some great acting in here, some great witness work. There was some great lawyer work, and I'm going to save most of those comments for our panelists who can help you better than I can. There's a few things that I just want to let you know, guys. One, that lawyers in my courtroom do the same thing with, and that is it's okay to slow down. It's really hard because something starts going in your head and you just start talking and all of a sudden there it goes. It's okay to slow down. Sometimes you have to just breathe to do that, but it's easier for your jurors to hear you or the judge to hear you. And so I just say to you, breathe, just breathe, and you'll get through it, I promise. The other thing I wanted to let both sides know is that the case problem this year set up some real problems with expert witnesses. I suspect the problem did that on purpose. There were problems for both Dr. Rogers and Skylar Weirs. I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure things would have gone quite that way in a real courtroom, but you have to be prepared when things go south. And so I didn't qualify Mr. Weirs as you expected me to, and sometimes that's a little tough, but you got to listen to those rulings to see how it may affect what you do. You did a good job surviving it, but those things are kind of tough. The other thing that I'll just tell you guys, as you decide about doing this again next year, is that the more of what you have to do, and I know this is tough, you can memorize, and that sounds tough, the better. All right, particularly in opening and closing, it really is effective when you can look the panelists, hopefully next year in person, right in the eye and tell them what you think. And that's really hard to do. And most lawyers take notes too. So I don't want you to take any of this as negative. You guys did a great job. These are just some tips for next year moving forward. I'm going to turn this over. Have the panelists submitted their scores first? Have they been able to do that?
Do that.
I have not yet, Your Honor.
All right. Here's what we're going to do then. Why don't we start with Mr. Prey, Ms. Seymour for their comments. And then we'll allow you to get your scoring done, Mr. Plank, okay?
Okay, I'll try to figure out how to do that.
Okay, I want to start with a comment of kind of mirroring Justice White. Breathe, take it easy. This is not, this is an after-school extracurricular activity that, my wife took her team to nationals a couple of years ago, and the school wouldn't even help pay for most of it. So, you should be having a good time. I do have to say, yeah, the witnesses know their stuff. This is good. This is great. The witnesses know their stuff. The attorneys have good control over the witnesses. Ms. Gallegos, I was kind of surprised when you apologized for an outburst, because I was going to, and it still will, comment that I had a great deal of fun between you and Ms. Garcia going back and forth over that issue of material in the statement, because that's kind of what makes these things fun to watch, is having a witness challenge an attorney come back with the response that holds the witness in place. And, that back and forth makes an entertaining scene. But I did have fun. This was a good round. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Ms. Seymour.
Thank you, Your Honor. You really did a nice job. There are always people who really do a good job. I thought that the defense attorneys and the plaintiff's attorneys were really good. Jade, I hope I can call you Jade without your last name. It was amazing when I saw you do stuff. I'm like, she's getting that person to say things that they didn't think they were going to say. Same thing with Gavin. You were, the only thing I can say about negative about you, because your questioning was really good, you just needed to be careful about your pronouns. And I think that's because the characters change sometimes from male to female, but your language, what the questions you asked were really good. Julie, you really did a nice job on setting up your cross-examination. I also, Ms. Peters, you really did a nice job exposing the weaknesses of the plaintiff's case. It was a very close round for me, but I think that all of you did such a great job. The witnesses were very prepared, did a good job. I very much enjoyed it, and I hope you also enjoyed it. Thanks so much.
Mr. Plank, I'll let you take a moment to break from your scoring if you'd like to give the kids your thoughts.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. And I think Ms. Seymour and Mr. Prey would agree with me in the court that I'm just so impressed. Each year, I've been doing this forever, it seems like. Each progressive year, I'm more impressed with the group that does the presentation. I thought it was great. I completely concur with you, Your Honor. It's very difficult to do, but if you just slow down, for example, you're so, you're ramped up, you want to get to it, but if you can slow down, particularly in the opening, that's where you set the table as to what you're going to do and who your witnesses are, what you're going to prove. I think that'd be beneficial. I thought that one of the things I thought was really good was the direct examination with the experts, because that's really what this case was. And so I thought that like Cyrus and Davion were perfect. They were confident. Same thing on the defense side. And it makes it much more challenging with what we're doing here. So I was really totally impressed with everybody being able to get through this thing in the format you have to do it. So kudos to everybody.
All right, guys. Well, listen, you should be really proud of yourselves. I'll tell you, there's a lot of experience here, a lot of folks with a whole lot of experience. I've practiced law for 20 years and I've been on the bench for 7. I will tell you all that I have lawyers that appear in front of me who are not as good as you. All right. So you guys should be very proud of what you've done. And I hope you keep doing it. I hope this inspires some passion. I hope this inspires you to keep going and never give up on your dreams. You guys keep fighting for what you want. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'll release all of the students at this point. You're welcome to log out. Mr. Plank, if you tell me when your scores are in, I can let you go. I'm going to also release our scoring panelists if they're ready to go. I will thank our panelists as they clock out. Thank you so much for your dedication, for the giving of your time to the Bar Association and to these great kids. Thank you all so much for your efforts. Kids, and you're not kids, I know you're young adults, you're excused. Scoring panelists, except for Mr. Plank, you're excused. Please enjoy this moment while you wait for your scores. Thank you, folks. Congratulations.
Thank you, Your Honor, and thank you to the scoring panelists.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I don't want Kim to yell at me, Mr. Plank.
I'm sorry. I should have been doing this throughout. I just, I don't have the technical mojo to do it.
No, you take your time. I just, I'm not, like I said, Kim's a lot meaner than I am. So I'll make sure we get what we need to do.
We'll get her going.
Yeah.
They did great. They're so wonderful.
They did. I agree with you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just punched it.
All right, and did you get any error message, anything telling you that the computer's going to seize or anything?
Yeah, I've got to put my last name in. I think that's it.
All right.
But let me see. That's it. It got it, Your Honor.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Marty. I'm sure
Thank you much, Judge.
Kim will let you know if there's a problem. Thank you for your time, sir. I know you're a steadfast volunteer. Thank you so much.